So the topic given, Aichvisha Ikalmada Panchamahayagna. The name may sound as if we are going to talk about something very big. Before we start, actually, what is Panchamahayagna? I would like to give a brief introduction as to how this whole thing came about. In our Vaidika system or in our Vedic society, certain things were asked to be done to connect oneself to the environment. I'll tell you what it means. And then our Vedic society realized that the mind of a human being, like any other thing outside, for example, the whole world that we see, look around, requires to be cleaned every day. Our house needs to be cleaned, our body needs to be cleaned, but then what about our mind? Because our body and mind are also a part of the Anatma Jagat, which we have already seen. If the whole Jagat, whatever is there, requires to be constantly maintained and kept and cleaned, then how are we going to really do that with our minds? Because more than whatever is accumulated on our bodies, million times more than that, there is so much of mala or whatever you call it, impurities in our mind. And the purpose of the Vedas was to see that every human being with this human birth, which is very rare to get, progresses to some extent, at least by a few steps towards moksha, for which the Vedas said that Chitta Shuddhi or the clearing of the mind is absolutely important, very important. How do we do that? When we have an object outside, yes, there are different ways of cleaning different objects. Every day we take a bath and rub and brush and scrub our bodies, that's fine. What are we going to do with this mind which is so subtle? There's no way we can bring out our mind and clean it and put it back inside, that's not possible. So then what is the way in which we can keep this mind, renewed? It's a kind of a renewal, cleaning it, renewing it. And the mind will keep on getting dirty. It's not that Chitta Shuddhi is a one-time job. It's not like saying that I will clean my, I'll have a bath now and for the rest of my life. No, I have to do it daily. Similarly, being an anatma, being the matter principle, the mind also gets continuously afflicted by very subtle kind of a mala. The body has a gross mala or gross kind of immunities, but the mind is having all the time accumulating very subtle kind of impurities. And what the Vedas said was that there is only one way of doing this job of cleaning the mind, or we call it the samskara of the mind also. Samskara means, like we say, every karma has different types of results. Samskara or cleaning or purifying is one of the effects of a particular karma. So this mind has to go through this samskara karma or purifying thing daily. And so what happened in our Vedic period was, they said, to do this, there are certain things that we have to do in the form of doing a karma. Karma means what? Any action is called as karma. Any action. It can be a kayika karma done with the help of your hands and feet and your body. It could be a vachika karma, that is through our words, or it can be a manasika karma. So what the Vedas said was that with these three, they called as karmas. And not a karma or not a particular thing which is done only once in a way. They said that this is something which has to be done on a daily basis. And if there is something which is to be done extra, whatever it is, other than what you are doing, it becomes more of a burden on people. So, all these karmas, which they called as nitya karmas, nitya karma, naimittika karmas, okay? Then kamya karmas, nishiddha karmas, and what are called as the paschatapa, for paschatapa's sake, for the sake of condoning whatever omissions and commissions, prayaschitta karmas. So they gave them those names. But the most important was Nitya Naimittika Karmas. Naimittika Karmas are also a kind of Nitya Karmas only. Let's not go into the details of what it is. That means something which is done regularly as a regular practice every day. As we would do like cleaning our houses and cleaning our surroundings, how these kind of activities which will keep our minds and our intellect, clean enough, purified enough. And as the mind gets dirtier, every day doing this cleans it like the world outside, because mind is also a part of the Jagat only. It is an Anatma only. And that is how they call them as Nitya Karmas. Now, what are these Nitya Karmas? Are they any big things? No. The purpose of Nitya Karmas was, the first one is to connect with that total or samashti. We are all a small aspect of the total. We are what is called as the vyashti, or we are a small part or a small reflection of the total. So let those karmas or let our activities during the day be connected to the total, to Ishvara. Total means Ishvara. Let us be connected with those functionaries or deities because of whom we are having a life which is disciplined, where the sun rises every day, sets every day. The sun doesn't, decide one day, no, today I'm not going to rise at all. So all the laws of the universe which are going to be followed because of certain things or certain shaktis or certain kind of, we call them devatas, that's all, just a name given. Certain devatas. We might have given them forms, but they are basically the functionaries. So connecting with them in some way or the other, that was the first intention. The second intention was that what we are today is nothing but that we are the result of generations of people who have contributed to our being here today and whatever we are today. You may call it genetics, you may call it epigenetics, you may call it DNA, you call it any way. But we are there because of generations of people before us. And today we may not even remember our grandfathers' names, it doesn't matter. During Shraddha, if they ask you the third one, your father, grandfather, grandfather's father, we don't know. Then the Bhatmam says, okay, let's call him Rama. And Aditya Rupaya, Vasu Rupaya, Rudra Rupaya, Rama, Sita, like that. Some name we give, we don't even remember who they are. So connecting ourselves to those jivas which contributed to us in that form, certain activities that have to be done in a regular way, Shraddhadi karmas which are done in a regular way. Then the third thing the Veda said is that Veda is a kind of a knowledge which flows. Vedas are the repository of knowledge which have to flow. They can't stagnate. Vedas are like a flowing river. If the Vedas stagnate and if there is nobody who continues this, then it becomes stagnated. And anything which is stagnated gets, loses its purpose. So the Vedas are like the Ganga which are continuously flowing. It should continue to flow. Therefore, there should be some activities by which we are connected to this sacred knowledge of ours which has come from the beginning of the creation. Yo brahmanam vidadati purvam, we have heard that. Yo vai vedanscha prahinoti tasmai tamha devam atma buddhi prakasham mukshurvai sharanam aham prapadye. We chant that every time before we chant the Brahma Sutra Bhashya. So remembering that and connecting with the Vedas so that our life becomes easier and we get into that groove where we are guided by that sacred knowledge. So connecting with this, our sacred books or Vedas. Then as human beings, we are not isolated islands. We have to live with other people, other jivas, human jivas, non-human jivas, and other things, environment. Our Vedas were absolutely concerned about environment. Today we are talking so much. If you take the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is entirely on how to conserve the environment and how you can be a contributor to the environment and not a mere consumer. We have already seen that in Bhagavad Gita also. So connecting oneself with the other living beings around us. Naturally, if I have to live happily, if I'm sitting here today, there are thousands of people who have done something or worked for me to have been here. So I have to think of them. I have to remember them. I have to pay my gratitude to them. Not only that, I have to do something in return for what I have got from other people, directly or indirectly. If I have eaten my lunch today, I don't know from which field that rice came, who's that person who sowed the seed. Just you see how many people, the whole universe is acting harmoniously as one unit for all of us to survive and be happy here. Therefore, connecting with the environment. This was the real meaning of what were called as the Nitya Karmas. And whenever Nitya Karmas were done, since people did not know how to go about it, a particular rule was given, especially with the fire rituals, because Agni was considered to be the foremost, the Devata in a proper form. And therefore, most of those karmas were associated with Agni. Starting with Agnihotra or, your Sandhya Vandana. Simple karmas like Agnihotra or Sandhya Vandana, whatever. Starting with the Agni Karyas. They started with that. So, this was basically the Vedic way of a person living his life in harmony with the whole universe. And not only that, all these karmas, it is said that, in the Vedas it is said that there is no phala for these karmas. Because these are the karmas that we are supposed to do. This is our responsibility to do them. There is no result, there is no phalam. But if you do these karmas with the sankalpa, wanting something, you may get that. But the Vedas said, let these Nitya Naimitika karmas be Nishkama karmas. When you do them as Nishkama karmas, the very purpose of these karmas is fulfilled. And what is that? Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Naishchalyam, Jnana Yogyata Prapti. So that in this life, we may not be able to, attain that goal of moksha, but at least we have walked a few steps towards it. So every human being had his own Nitya Naimitika karmas depending upon the Varna Ashrama Paddhati that time. And Varnashrama is not a caste system as it is said today. It is grouping of people in 4 divisions where the person could contribute his best depending upon his capacity. It was that. It was purely based on the intellectual capacity of a person. Of course, birth was there was no doubt about it. But jati, brahmanatvam or kshatriyatvam or vaishyatvam was not important. Gunatvam was important. A guna brahmana, a guna vaishya, that was what was really important. And that is what Bhagavan Krishna also says. You do your swadharma. What is the meaning of swadharma? That in which you are at your best. That to which you can contribute your best. And for that, these Nitya Karmas were meant to be Nishkama Karmas. The only purpose being the growth of the individual and the growth of the intellect, at the same time cleaning and purifying the intellect, making it ready for the next step of Jnanam towards moksha. Now what happened over a period of time? These karmas, they lost their original significance. Most of these karmas started being used by misinterpretation of the Vedas for their own purposes. They became more of sakama karmas. I want this, I want this, I want this, so I do this, I pray. So now, over a period of time, even Lord Krishna, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, of course, after all, Mahabharata happened in the Sandhikala of the Dwapara and Kali. And Bhagavan says that, see, that dharma which came from Vivasvan and from Ishvara, Vivasvan onwards, it is got slowly over a period of time, it has lost its significance, and I have come here to uphold that and bring it back. That's what Lord Krishna says. When he, this purpose of his avatara is being talked about, he himself says that. That is the reason which over a period of time got lost. And that's what has happened to all of us. With the change in the society pattern, we are no longer living in a Vedic society. Vedic society is not there. And all the Varnashrama dharma, which was very, very ideal at that time for the Vedic society, now it's no longer applicable to us. It is no longer something which we can follow fully. It is not there. So, but our minds are the same. Our intellects are the same. And the ultimate goal of human life is moksha. There is no doubt about it. In that case, what do we do now? You know, today, we don't even do Sandhya Vandana or Agnihotra. Forget Agnihotra. Even Sandhya Vandana people don't do. Very few people do that. Otherwise, even that is not done. All right. So we have lost that. We are no longer in a Vedika way of lifestyle. No Vedic society. This is basically a very different society we are living in. But what the Vedas say, the knowledge of the Vedas is relevant to all times. And in this time like this, where those kind of karmas, whatever it was meant for, we are no longer able to really, may not be able to follow, but in principle, can we follow that same system, but in a little different package? The same thing, but put in a little different package, but serving the same purpose. What is the purpose ultimately? That there should be Chitta Shuddhi. That it should help me in my spiritual, as a human being, when I'm born, my first right and responsibility is to understand who I am. And that is the ultimate and the only goal. All the others are subsidiary. According to the, not only according to the, it is the reality. So the Vedas don't have to tell that. That is the reality. But then we get lost. We get lost in our subsidiary, so many things. We get waylaid. There are so many ways we get waylaid and we go here. And the main goal is forgotten. And our minds now more opportunities and more options for the mind to get impure more and more and more and more. Okay? And in such a time, if there is really a mumukshu, and a mumukshu who sees, who is able to understand how he is exposed every minute to a pollution. Pollution is not only in the air pollution or water pollution or food pollution, mind pollution. Every minute we are exposed to mind pollution. But what do? My goal is ultimately moksha. At least in this life, I want to move a few steps further towards my goal. So what do? So the same thing what I talked about all this time, now we can also follow. And that particular same Vaidika Nitya Naimitika karmas, now we call them Pancha Mahayajnas. Yajna means contribution. Yajna, way of life, Bhagwan Krishna says in the 4th chapter. Yajna, everything is a yajna. So yajna means what? How I can be of use to somebody else. How I can contribute. How I can become more of a contributor and less of a consumer. When I become more of a contributor and less of a consumer, then my mala in the chitta mala, or the mind which is polluted, slowly starts getting, coming down. My ahankara slowly starts diluting. When I see something bigger purpose, the bigger purpose in my life, and when I become a contributor, less of a consumer, the I starts loosening. All these are steps towards Chitta Shuddhi, which are absolutely necessary. So in today's world, after this long introduction, today we call them Pancha Mahayajnas. Yajna means what I can do in my daily living. Not going out of the way to do anything, but daily living. Can I still do my Nitya Karmas, Naimittika Karmas, and still have the same effect of Chitta Shuddhi, dilution of Ahankara, more and more subtlety of the mind, so that I become capable of understanding what actually Vedanta is saying? Can I move closer towards my ultimate goal of moksha? That is the purpose of Pancha Mahayajnas. Mahayajnas, they are called only because the result that we get is great. Not what we are doing is great. What we get out of that is really, it is a Mahayajna. Because Chitta Shuddhi is the biggest, the greatest thing that we can achieve by doing anything. If I am already a Jnani, I don't need it. But none of us are. We are all travelers. We are all on the path. And Chitta Shuddhi is so very important for us that it is the Mahaphalam of that yajna. Therefore, it is called Pancha Mahayajnas, 5. And all these 5 are making me connect myself to the total, to the universe as a whole, where I start seeing the whole universe not different from me. The whole universe, including me, being a manifestation of Ishvara. So what are those 5 yajnas? The same thing, how do we put them across now, Pancha Mahayajnas? They're called as Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Brahma Yajna, Manushya Yajna and Bhuta Yajna. Names, that's all. But what do they mean? Whatever I explained all this time. Deva Yajna. What is the meaning of Deva Yajna? Remembering that there is something more powerful than us, which is running, call it anything. You call it Ishvara, you call it God, you call it that intelligence. Some different people may have different words. But there is something, the total, something which is running this whole thing with such a precision that, we are sitting here, the earth is not falling into the sun for millions of years. Correct? The seasons come at their time, go at their time. Everything is happening. Are we doing anything about it? We only complain. Oh, it is so hot. Oh, it is so cold. That's all. What else are we doing? We are not doing anything. Things are happening. If things are happening like this, there must be something, some intelligence, someone, something, some system is there which is keeping this whole system going. What is that system? We call it Ishvara. Today's world, we have to use such words. System, we have to keep the system in place, ecosystem, environment. It's nothing, that's what, all these were there in our Vedic period, but the names were different, that's all. So Deva Yajna means, I'll just remember that there is something which is beyond me. I'm a part of it. I'm not different from it. But at the same time, there is something which is keeping everything going. I'll call it anything. I'll call it by my Ishtadevata's name. If Hanuman is my Ishtadevata, I'll say, oh Hanuman. When I get up in the morning, I start with a prayer. Okay? That's why when people got up, they used to start with a prayer. Prayer to the earth. Oh earth, forgive me. I'm putting my feet over you when I'm getting up. Starting with that. Looking at one's own hands. And seeing where is Lakshmi here, where is Saraswati, where is this, literally like, having, superimposing all the devatas upon yourself. Okay, so all these, so just remembering that there is something that early morning when we get up. In our own way, offer something, puja. We are all doing some puja or some, even lighting a lamp, offering something, or chanting something. Even our nama japa, that's a vachika karma, manasika karma. So, chanting something, japa, our japa that we are doing. We may chant certain things, like, one chapter of Bhagavad Gita, one may chant some bhashya chanting every day, whatever it is. What are we doing here? We are remembering that samashti. And we are remembering that which we call as God or Ishvara. In Vedas, that thing which is unseen, but the unseen hands which are running this whole system, in a clock-like precision, we call it Ishvara. And because we cannot think of Ishvara without a form as something, Veda itself helps us. Okay, you give it a form of your choice. Just for an alambanam. As an alambanam, to hold on to that, you have a form. A small window through which you connect to the total. So my connection with that Ishtadevata, or seeing that the whole universe is nothing but a manifestation of Ishvara, when I see this, thinking of that God, doing some small things, whatever I am doing. Somebody is doing, Parayana, somebody is doing, whatever it is one way of connecting with that Samashti. That's all is Deva Yajna. And there is no rule that what you are doing is wrong, what I am doing is right. No. How you want to connect to that Samashti, it's entirely up to you. And there are different ways. Doing Kaika Karma, Shodasha Upachara Puja or 64 Upachara Puja or whatever you want to do, you do. Chanting, whatever you want to chant, Manasa, Japa. Deva Yajna, connecting with that Ishvara or the total. That's the first one. Then, Pitru Yajna, remembering our ancestors. Remembering means we may not remember their names or who they were, how they looked and all that. Sometimes we see family trees being made. We don't even know. I saw my fans, Rangapaya, Appaya, Anantaya and all that. Some 7, 8, this thing. Who are they? We don't know. So, but they were there. Okay? How do we, if we say, like somebody asked, what is the proof that God is there? Nobody has seen. So, it seems a guru said, do you believe that your grandfather existed? Yeah. Do you believe that your grandfather's grandfather existed? Yeah. Have you seen him? No, you have not seen him. Then where is the proof that your grandfather's grandfather existed? No, it's I am here. That is the proof of my, how many ever generations. That is the same proof. You are here. That is the proof that God is there because you are that. You have come from there. So therefore, you don't have to see everything to prove something. Okay, you can infer. Anumana is also there. Everything is not Pratyaksha Pramana. It is Anumana Pramana is also there where you know. Like that. So, there have been generations of people who have contributed to what we are today. In terms of whatever it is, their gunas, how it is transferred. Yes, scientifically now we say it has come through all, the DNA and this and that and all that. But yes, they have contributed in some way. And what is that DNA and all? Ultimately, that is also Ishvara's law only, no? Isn't it? It's also Ishvara's law. If I have to be born as a human being from a human parent and not be born as a donkey from a human parent, that means there is something which is working. Why something else is not happening? There is a system here that is happening. Therefore, here we are all the effects of generations of people who have, been, there, remembering them. If not all, at least our parents, if they are not there. That's why they said at least once in a year, you do Shraddha. If you can't do every Amavasya, Sarpam people who are doing Amavasya, Tarpana every Amavasya, don't bother. At least on their particular days when that also not possible for us, don't bother. At least in the Mahalaya Paksha, you just remember all those people who have gone, you can remember and give one common Tarpana to all of them. At least that much you do. Shraddha Tarpana. Okay, when you go to a sacred place, at least, when you stand in Ganga or Narmada or somewhere, at least remember them and, give Tarpana to them. That much we can do. This is what? Showing my gratitude to those generations which have contributed to what I am today. My thanksgiving. Connecting with them means my giving their, showing my gratitude. Showing my gratitude towards the nature and the devatas, the functionaries of nature is Devayagna. And connecting with my, whoever they are, but having that thought in my mind that whoever you are, wherever you are, you may be already born somewhere else. So, somebody asked my Vedanta Guru, how do I know that when I do the Shraddha, how do I know that my grandfather or my father are not already born somewhere else? So, my Guru said, why are you bothered about that? Whether they are born or not, why are you bothered? No, whatever I do, Shraddha, will it reach them? Then my Vedanta Guru said, you don't worry about whether it reaches them or not. You do it because it is for your good. You do it, it is for your good. Whether what Shraddha you have done reaches somebody or not, that is none of your business. Okay? You just offer it to them. If you really believe in Lord Krishna's words of Karma Yoga, this is what I am supposed to do. And not because I am supposed to do, but I want to do. Not forced. You must do Shraddha. No, I want to do it. This is one day I want to really do it and, show my whatever. That's the way I want to. In whichever way we want, we can do it. That's okay. So, that is Pitru Yajna. Connecting and showing my gratitude, thanksgiving to all those who have contributed earlier. That's why in Shraddha we include so many people, not only our parents. We include our teachers, our gurus, those are our friends. And we also say if there is anyone left who does not get this Tarpana and Shraddha from anybody else, such people also, such jivas also, let my Tarpana and this one reach them. So what is this? We are connecting with the whole universe. It's not only for my parents and grandparents, it's for everybody. Everybody. And if I have left anybody, for everybody, whoever is there. So that is Pitru Yajna. Then we have Brahma Yajna. Same thing what I said. What Veda wants us is to keep this Vedantic knowledge, Veda knowledge as a sacred body of knowledge to be constantly flowing, and that it should not become, it should not become nashta. It should not become lost somewhere. It should not become stagnant. It should not be misinterpreted. Okay, over a period of time, things start getting misinterpreted. That's why when Bhagwan Gaudapada Acharya, he wrote the Brahma Sutras, over a period of time, it seems the whole meaning of Brahma Sutras was totally, it was misinterpreted. And that is the time Gaudapada Acharya felt that now it is the right time that somebody explains this and writes a commentary on the sutras so that, the lost meaning can be brought in. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya is chosen for that. And that is how he comes, Gaudapadacharya comes to him and he tells him, you write a bhashya for this, because there is so much confusion, it has lost whatever I meant, it is lost in that. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya, after writing, he says, yes, you have done full justice to what I wanted to represent here. That's how the Brahma Sutra bhashya came about. That's this one. So connecting with this, like whatever we are doing, we are chanting the bhashyas regularly. We are, doing this, talking. This talk is also a Brahma Yajna only. That's why Chinmayanandji used to call Gita talks as Gita Jnana Yajna. He used to call them Yajna. This is Brahma Yajna. We are talking about our scriptures, our gurus, what Swamiji does, Svadhyaya, what Svadhyaya we do, what some small group classes we have, whatever we do, it is Brahma Yajna. Keeping ourselves connected with our scriptures. Keeping ourselves connected with our four gurus, like four means not F-O-U-R, our earlier gurus whom we have not even seen. Shankaracharya, none of us have seen, but he is still present in all his writings. And it's beautiful to read. It's as though when we are reading Acharya's bhashyas, it's as though he's sitting in front of you and, reading it. So much of madhuryam, so much of lalityam. It is, it should be read to believe what and how the bhashyas are so beautiful. Those of us who are chanting the bhashyas, we have the experience of how beautiful they are. Just chanting itself is so beautiful. When we know the meaning and chant, it's much more. Like Vishnu Sahasranama. Chanting is beautiful, but when we know the meaning of the words that we are chanting, it has a very different dimension to itself. So, Brahma Yajna. Then the fourth one is what is called as Manushya Yajna. Reaching out to other human jivas. Reaching out in some way or the other. Dana. Okay, like Krishna also talks, dana, giving dana, like any kind of dana, whatever dana it is. It could be annadana. It could be kshetra dana, means giving place to somebody to live, somebody who cannot afford. It could be hiranya dana. Okay, it could be vastra dana. Okay, it could be vidya dana. You are helping somebody to, study, paying somebody's fees and, It could be godana. Okay, anything. There, depending upon whatever you can do. Like recently somebody wanted to do this godana. Now in today's world, in today's situation, if I want to do godana, good, but it is so difficult, no? Like you have to first buy a cow. And then you have to find where to buy the cow, you don't know. In Bangalore, somebody wants to give godana. Then to whom to give it? Who will accept a cow? In today's world, when we have 2-bedroom flats, who will accept a cow? Now we have to find somebody in some village or somewhere where you have to give a cow. And they went to that village. He said, I will not accept only the cow, it has to be with the calf. So you have to give the cow with the calf. Then only I will accept. Now what to do? Now how to transport that? He somehow bought one cow. But we don't know whether this man doesn't know whether the cow is all right or not. And bought the cow here, and to transport from here to some hulli somewhere, that cost him so much money because he had to take it in one truck or something and he had to go there. And then that fellow said, no, I don't receive it without, it should be this thing with the calf. And then he saw this thing and all, what kind of a cow you have brought? It is old and it is this and it is that, it doesn't have teeth, it doesn't have this thing. You only take it back, I don't want this dana. Now, what will this person do? So now there are some mathas, I don't know whether you are aware of it. There are some mathas where, they have their goshala. Okay, so you want to give Godana, what you do is, you give money, 30,000, 40,000, as though you have purchased a cow, and give dana to the same mata. Give it back to them. So instead of paying money, you are as though, in kind of a symbolism. So you buy from there only, pay for that cow, and give the dana there only, and the head of the mata will come and do some puja and all, and will be saying, okay, I have accepted your dana. So all this. So it doesn't mean that there's so many types of danas. Giving one's time to another person, giving affection and love to somebody, that is also good enough, dana. So that any kind of a connection with another human being, giving or, contributing whatever I can to the best of my ability. It is not that just because Vedas said Sawa Rupya for Bhatmam to come and do this puja, that we follow today very nicely. Okay? In Vedas it is said only one rupee 25 paisa for Bhatmam for Dakshina. That we follow very clearly. That today's world, that we don't want to increase. But all the others we make our own arrangements and adjustments and do everything. So that is, though this is what is called as the Manushya Yajna, where you reach out. In some way you reach out so that, you feel the connection between you and the other human beings. And understand that other human beings are also contributing towards your well-being. Therefore, then comes what is called as Bhuta Yajna. Bhuta here means all the other beings around me. All the other beings, including plants. So how I can contribute so that I don't disturb the ecological balance. How I can contribute towards animals. How I can contribute towards other jivas, whatever. And other things also like environment and trees and plants and whatever it is. The way we are, exploiting. That's what Lord Krishna said in the 3rd chapter. Yevam pravartitam chakram. This chakra, which is, going on continuously, unless you are a part of it, you are destroyed. You think that you are destroying something. No, you are getting destroyed. You have to be a part of that whole circle. So Bhuta Yajna means reaching out to the other bhutas and other things, non-living things also. Not spoiling things. Like, okay, just eat something and throw the cup there from the car window. Now, what is all this, so this way, in what way can we do anything to be in, harmony with the environment around us? How can we be in balance of the ecological system? That is what is called as Bhuta Yajna. So tell me, is it not possible for us in all these Panchamahayajnas, is it not possible to include all of them in some way or the other in our daily living? We don't have to sit somewhere and do anything. Nama japa. You don't have to sit in any place. You can do the japa wherever you are, in whichever thing you are, whatever you are doing. You can do that. There is no problem at all. When you want to think of the Lord, Smaranam and Anusmaranam, do you need a place for that? You don't need. You can do it anywhere. Isn't it? Remembering a Shastra, or having some small, at least daily, something connecting with the Shastra. Is it difficult? Remembering my parents or my grandparents and just, letting out a thought of gratitude towards them. Remembering them on certain days or whatever it is it difficult for us? Small contributions to the environment, small contributions to the people around us in some way or the other. We are all doing that. But then what we get out of this is, our ahankara becomes diluted, becomes less and less, and our mind becomes more and more expanded. The mind becomes subtler and subtler. We start seeing the same energy or the same, consciousness, the same existence in everything, everywhere. So if I want to have a Vishwarupa Darshana of Krishna, unless my mind is prepared for it, it is not possible. In Mahabharata, there were hardly 2 or 3 people who really had that Vishwarupa Darshana. And there were thousands, lakhs of people there. Because one has to be prepared for these things. And it is these kind of our daily inclusion of these things. It is the same meaning for the Vaidika karmas also. And today also it is the same meaning. The name may sound Pancha Mahayajnas, as if we are doing a big yajna. It is not so. The yajna is very simple. The karma is very simple. The thought behind them is very simple. But the phalam that we get is what? A step towards, purnatvam. A step towards brahmatvam. A step towards that which I really am. So we all can include whatever we are doing, yes. And then how do we do this? Not with the intention that, I am doing this, so I should get this in return. No. I am helping somebody, so see, that person never did anything back. No, nothing. This is the time where I have to contribute. That's it. It's over there. And I contribute it as I am doing it for Ishvara. And for me, that person to whom I am trying to do something, I see Ishvara in that person. So what have I done? I become a karma yogi. Automatically I am a karma yogi, isn't it? And I am not bothered about what I am getting. So I am connecting to the whole environment with Ishvararpana Buddhi. And whether something comes or not, Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. So Chitta Shuddhi is there. Then there is an expansion, subtlety of the mind, and I start seeing everything is Ishvara, nothing is, I am not different from you, you are not different from me, everything is the same consciousness everywhere. I see that. And that is, way ahead that we move. And in this life, if I can move 3-4 steps, hopefully in my next life, I'll probably be going further. Because it is only the spiritual, it is said that it is only the spiritual practice or the spiritual jnana yoga or whatever, karma yoga, jnana yoga are not something which are lost with this life. We continue where we had stopped in the previous life. We start from there, move forwards. Maybe all our other karmas go along with us. We are not going to remember anything. Everything is lost. Whatever I have acquired here in this life, everything will be lost when this body dies. But there's one thing which continues. That is my effort in my, for the spiritual advancement, whatever this jiva has put in that effort. I don't start from zero balance the next. I start from where I had left. That is the promise Lord Krishna has given us in the 6th chapter. Wherever you have stopped, I will see that there is that buddhi samyoga. Your intellect automatically gets connected to where you had stopped and you go further. And I will see that you get the conditions, the birth conducive enough. Shuchinam gehe, Srimatam Shuchinam gehe. Wherever is conducive for you for furthering your journey, I will see that I'll do it. Krishna's promise cannot be, ignored like that. It's a promise given to Arjuna, it's a promise given to us. So if we can look at our Vaidika karmas, Nitya Naimitika karmas, in the form of Panchamahayajnas like this, then we are really living a life of a karma yogi. So a karma yogi is the one who's doing the Panchamahayajnas. I think with this should be enough for today. Om Tat Sat. And thank you for being here. And of course, this is my seva at the feet of Lord Bhavani Shankar and our Guru Parampara. Om Tat Sat.